All right, Bob? Oh, you have Richard Green. Do you have a question for Richard?
Richard.
Nope.
Hello?
Yes.
I just throw this out the window.
Rich, what could the city realistically do to give downtown Mesquite a sense of place and some vibrancy?
Thanks, Bob. Well, I think one thing that I believe we need is more of a vision or a central theme. And I'd certainly be willing to work with the mayor and other city officials and get input from the citizens of Mesquite as to what that vision and theme might be. And then maybe we could build our downtown around that theme, something that would be seem memorable to people who only come through here occasionally. And they'd say, yeah, Mesquite is that town that does X or has this as a symbol or something like that. So I think that's a missing ingredient. And as we're on what I think is on the front edge of a recovery in the economy in our nation, we've got to make sure that we get all our ducks lined up so that we can capitalize on that and bring forth to future residents and future businesses all the assets that we actually have. So I believe that a vision and a theme and incorporating that to the extent we could into downtown would make some sense.
Kent? Excuse me, do you have a question for Gino with help?
I've already asked Gino.
Yes. You want to, oh, okay. We'll give you a different one. Would you like to ask a question to Sandra?
No, I guess I've had, yeah,
Oh, Sandra Waymaker?
please. Sandra, you've been outspoken on several issues during your tenure on the Virgin River Water District Board, and you've had some conflicts with people. Are any of these going to carry over to the City Council if you are elected?
I don't see how the conflicts or my decisions to follow my beliefs when someone is treated incorrectly is a wrongdoing. That would follow with me no matter where I went. That's part of my belief in when somebody's been done wrong. They should have the opportunity to have a chance to at least fix it. Other than that, bringing it on to City Council, I don't think the conflicts continue there.
All right. Barbara, do you have a question for Gino?
Gino, you happen to be in the real estate industry, so this question might fit you fairly well. You've also been on council for 4 years. Recently, the current mayor and the council raised the idea of selling off some or a lot of its empty land holdings. Do you agree with that? How would you do it? And what are the long-term implications of a quick, immediate sale?
Well, this is a touchy subject for me, obviously. Several years ago in the previous administration, it was a given that the real estate companies in town would kind of rotate when it comes to acquiring or selling city property. And I believe ERA was the first one drawn, and that was the old acquisition of the LDS land right there on Mesquite Boulevard. And that was the last acquisition or sale as far as the city parcel went at the time. I believe that the real estate business should be left to the professionals. There's absolutely no doubt. The city of Mesquite has no business being in the real estate business. Leave it to the people that know what they're doing. And I'm not saying that I'm one of those people, and I think there should be an equitable way that it can be decided with the council or the mayor or staff someone to determine how that should be done. And I'm not saying that I would be a representative, even though I am the broker of our company. I'm not saying that I would be the representative in any transaction. ultimately, I would probably have some beneficial gain from it if indeed it did happen. But I certainly would promote, as we did before, rotating within the qualified professionals within the city rather than designating one particular broker.
What are the implications of long-term, or what are the long-term implications of making numerous sales, let's say in the next 2 to 3 years, versus holding that land for 10 years or 15 years? Talk about the implications of that.
Well, you know, you've got to look at existing market rates and what's happened in the last 3 years, what's happened now, what's projected for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. Raw land, if there's any sort of utilities to the raw land, for instance, right now it's going for somewhere around between $2 and $3 a foot. Is that ever going to go up? Who knows? I mean, your guess is as good as mine. 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, it was probably $5 a foot. So prices have dropped 50% or more in that last 3 or 4 or 5 years. Is it going to go back up? Anybody's guess. So the implications are, do we do it now and take the money and run, or do we put our eggs in one basket down the road and see if we're going to get lucky? I mean, I think it should be a citizen's call.
All right.
Does that answer your question, Barb? Thank you.
Bob, do you have a question for Cindy Delaney?
Cindy, what's your top priority for Mesquite and how do you plan to achieve it?
Becoming more business friendly. We're a dying town in a lot of ways. Look at all of those empty buildings we have over on Pioneer. I was over at what we call Bulldog Plaza. I really think it's Mesquite Plaza, but it's where Los Lupis is. Everybody knows where that is. And one whole side in between Sandy Sorensen's store all the way down to the pawn shop is empty. On the other side, there's empty storefronts. We've got to find out what it is, and I'm asking people, why do we think they say, oh, we have too many licenses we have to have. We have too much this, we have to figure out why people think that we're business unfriendly, and we've got to work on it. I think staff's been doing a great job of trying to simplify that process, but we need to work harder at it, because without businesses, without jobs, all of this it all just turns over, because we've got to have jobs in this town to bring people to town. More jobs brings more people, brings more businesses, and it makes it work. But we've got to bring all of that. We've got lots of ways we can do it, working with MRBI, working with the chamber, working with all of the different groups to make it easier to get businesses in here, to make it more attractive. Maybe we should offer some incentives. We've got to look at what we can do to bring it in, because we're going to get the payback in the long run by bringing in more people, having a stronger tax base, having a stronger community, because business attracts business. Did that answer your question, Bob?
Thank you.
All right, Kent, do you have a question for Gina Withelder? Sorry, the name keeps coming up.
Gina, the Gold Butte area action in Congress seems to be stalled right now. Do you support it staying under the kind of protection it's under now at the BLM? Would you like to see it become a national conservation area with wilderness, or would you prefer to see it become a national monument?
Well, we had a meeting last week with Congressman Horsford, and we addressed some of those issues with him while he was here. And he, of course, as a freshman congressman, is taking it back to Congress and discussing it with everybody that he can in Washington, and especially those particular issues. From a personal standpoint, my feeling is if we can keep the federal government out of our backyard with as much immunity as possible, I'm all for it. We have enough people here locally that can administrate that area, that have been here for 50 and 100 years and know the families that have been here forever, know the area like the backs of their hands, and I believe, frankly, that we should keep the federal government out of our backyard.